Hi. My name is Nicki Ward, and this is a recitation and a brief discussion about the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot. Behind me is something from a graphic novel by someone called Julian Peters. I'll leave a link below. In many ways, a graphic novel is another recitation of a piece. It's a different voice, it's a different take. I love the illustrations of Julian Peters' work. The recitation, the interpretation is different than mine, and that's okay, because that's Julian Peters' voice and this is my voice, and when you do it yourself, it'll be your voice. And all of us are trying to discover maybe T.S. Eliot's voice in there, or at least, or Prufrock's voice in there. Who knows which is which. My own voicing of this is going to be informed by what I understand of T.S. Eliot. Came from a Boston Brahmin family in the northeast of the United States, and so there'll be these long, rather extended vowels that will be in there. He subsequently, fairly early on, moved to St. Louis, Missouri. I doubt very much whether he had the Missouri twang, but there might be a little of that in there, informed. The poem, he did subsequently move to Europe, studied in Oxford, and picked up undoubtedly some verbal clues along the way there. But this is written, despite its maturity, very early on in his career, and is likely more informed by his early linguistic choices. Now, whether this comes out in my interpretation, it's subtle, but this is the kind of geeking out that I rather like to do. Excuse me, it's rather dry in here. The interpretation of it, this poem kind of speaks for itself, but interestingly, perhaps, in its original printing, the epigraph was from Dante's Purgatory. Subsequent printings were from Inferno, so possibly this was, Prufrock was in Purgatory and then went to a circle of hell. Don't know. There's some strangeness about his distance from women, and that's probably some strangeness about Eliot himself and his distance to women too. Not gay, you can't use that term today to describe somebody in the early part of the last century, but possibly T.S. Eliot was conflicted in his relationship with women. Certainly they were complicated, his relationships. Possibly, as was not uncommon for the time, he had dalliances with people of the same gender, and, maybe there's some conflict in there. I don't know. Is this a clarion call for the LGBT community? No. But is there something in there that's, some longing that's unspoken? Maybe. It certainly makes the poem interesting and on another level for me to consider it thus. So I shall stop my yattering now, because it's a fairly long poem, and I shall, here we have, this is the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, publication date in 1917, although he worked on it for a couple of years beforehand. And once again, my name is Nicki Ward, and this is my recitation thereof. Let us go then, you and I. And the evening is spread out against the sky like a patient etherized upon a table. Let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats of restless nights in one-night cheap hotels and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells, streets that follow like a tedious argument of insidious intent to lead you to an overwhelming question. Oh, do not ask what is it. Let us go and make our visit. In the room where women come and go, talking of Michelangelo, the yellow fog that rubs its back upon the window panes, the yellow smoke that rubs its muzzle on the window panes, licked its tongue into the corners of the evening, lingered upon the pools that stand in drains, let fall upon its back the soot that falls from chimneys, slipped by the terrace, made a sudden leap, and seeing it was a soft October night, curled once about the house, then fell asleep. And indeed there will be time for the yellow smoke that slides along the street, rubbing its back upon the window panes. There will be time to prepare a face to meet the faces that you meet. There will be time to murder and create, and time for all the works and days of hands that lift and drop a question on your plate. Time for you and time for me, and time yet for 100 indecisions, and for 100 visions and revisions before the taking of toast and tea. In the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. And indeed there will be time to wonder, do I dare, and do I dare? Time to turn back and descend the stair with a bald spot in the middle of my hair. They will say, how his hair is growing thin, my morning coat, my collar mounting firmly to the chin, my necktie rich and modest, but asserted by a simple pin. They will say, but how his arms and legs are thin. Do I dare disturb the universe? In a minute there is time for decisions and revisions, which a minute will reverse. For I have known them all already, known them all, have known the evenings, mornings, afternoons. I have measured out my life with coffee spoons. I know the dying where the dying fall beneath the music from a farther room, so how should I presume? And I have known the eyes already, I've known them all, the eyes that fix you in a formulated phrase, and when I am formulated, sprawling on a pin, when I am pinned and wriggling on the wall, then how should I begin to spit out all the butt end of my days and ways, and how should I presume? And I have known the arms already, known them all, arms that are braceleted and white and bare, but in the lamplight downed with light brown hair. Is it perfume from a dress that makes me so digress? Arms that lie along a table or wrap about a shawl, and should I then presume? And how should I begin? Shall I say I have gone at dusk through narrow streets and watched the smoke that rises from the pipes of lonely men in shirt sleeves leaning out of windows? I should have been a pair of ragged claws scuttling across the floors of silent seas. In the afternoon, the evening sleeps so peacefully, smoothed by long fingers, asleep, tired, or it malingers, stretched on the floor here beside you and me. Should I, after tea and cakes and ices, have the strength to force the moment to its crisis? But though I have wept and fasted, wept and prayed, though I have seen my head, grown slightly bald, brought in upon a platter, I am no prophet, and here's no great matter. I have seen the moment of my greatness flicker, and I have seen the eternal footman hold my coat and snicker, and in short, I was afraid. And would it have been worth it after all, after the cups, the marmalade, the tea? Among the porcelain, among some talk of you and me, would it have been worthwhile to have bitten off the matter with a smile, to have squeezed the universe into a ball, to roll it towards some overwhelming question, to say, I am Lazarus, come from the dead, come back to tell you all, I shall tell you all, if one setting a pillow by her head should say, that is not what I meant at all. That is not it at all. And would it have been worth it after all? Would it have been worthwhile after the sunsets and the dooryards and the sprinkled streets, after the novels, after the teacups, after the skirts that trail along the floor, and this and so much more? It is impossible to say just what I mean, but as if a magic lantern threw the nerves in patterns on a screen, would it have been worthwhile if one, settling a pillow or throwing off a shawl and turning towards the window, should say, that is not it at all, that is not what I meant at all? No, I am not Prince Hamlet, nor was meant to be. I am an attendant lord, one that will do to swell a progress, start a scene or two, advise a prince, no doubt, an easy tool, deferential, glad to be of use, politic, cautious and meticulous, full of high sentence but a bit obtuse, at times, indeed, almost ridiculous, almost at times the fool. I grow old, I grow old. I shall wear the bottoms of my trousers rolled. Shall I part my hair behind? Do I dare eat a peach? I shall wear white flannel trousers and walk upon the beach. I've heard the mermaids singing, each to each. I do not think that they will sing to me. I have seen them riding seaward on the waves, combing the white hair of the waves blown back when the wind blows the water white and black. We have lingered in the chambers of the sea by seagulls wreathed with seaweed red and brown, till human voices wake us and we drown.